Hello everyone, my name is Lorthorn and welcome to To Goety for Minecraft version 1.20.1. This is for Java Edition and Forge. Now, what is Goety? Well, Goety is an archaic term for dark magic. In fact, the full name of the mod is Goety the Dark Arts. It's just another way of saying witchery. And that is pertinent, as what else Goety is it's a mod inspired by witchery and thalmcraft, as well as the actual lore and story contained within Minecraft, dealing with all sorts of things such as the Nether, the End, the forgotten and lost civilizations, the ancient ruins, and the spiritual magic that seems to exist with both souls and the coming back to life with the totems and lapis and all that good stuff. It's a very cool mod. It is in fact one of my, I think, new favorite mods for Minecraft. It is massive. There is quite a bit of stuff for us to cover, but we should get there in the end, and it'll only take a little bit of time, so let's get to it. To begin with, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the Black Book. The Black Book is your guidebook. It is made with a normal book and an emerald. The Black Book contains all the information of the mod. It has a lot of entries in it. A lot of the book's information is contained behind advancements. The Dark Arts advancements is its own page, and unlocking these advancements will unlock new information within the book. You can see if the information is locked, you'll have this lock symbol. If not, you can open up the part and read it. There's also an excellent Wikipedia page to this mod, which I'll have linked in the description, as well as the mod itself, so you can go to both of them in case you find some of my information lacking. Now, once you get your book, next we want to find a graveyard. Graveyard is a structure that spawns in the world now. They're common enough. They will be guarded by these black wolves, which are aggressive and will attack you during the daytime, but it is incredibly worth it to find these places. They contain multiple useful things to you. The basic little graves can be dug into, and some of them will contain treasure, bones, rotten flesh, enchantments, string, actually all rather useless stuff. And others will contain the monster spawners. You just want to leave these monster spawners alone. It will be annoying that they'll keep spawning enemies on you, but spawners are quite useful in this mod, so it's best to hang on to them. So it's pretty meh treasure in the little ones, but if we go to the bigger sarcophagi graves and we break into them, they've got fairly good treasure, containing emeralds, containing ectoplasm, enchanted pickaxes, and powerful magics, rotten flesh, and books. All useful stuff. You especially want to collect the ectoplasm from these. The emeralds aren't a bad thing to get either of their rarity. One of the nice things is the graveyards contain both shade stone, which can be annoying to get, so you can mine some of this. It contains cursed metal bars, which is also worth mining, because that's something you need in this mod. Basically, everything in here is worth mining and taking. Coming back to it now, in your ventures while looking for one of these graveyards, you might come across these creatures. These are wraiths. They'll spawn naturally in the world. You also want to hunt these as well as hunting the graveyards. Killing wraiths will drop a new item for you. It's an item we already have, and that is the ectoplasm. So a dead wraith will give you ectoplasm, and it will unlock a new page in the Black Book. If we go into the Black Book, we go to Exploration, then we go to the left here and click on Bestiary under Exploration. We can now click on the Wraith, and it'll give us information on the Wraiths. Killing the black dogs will also give us information on the black dogs, or wolves. Now that we have our ectoplasm, we want to put that into the center of a crafting table, surround it with 4 sticks, and lapis in the corners for little eyes, and this will give us a totem of roots. Now, if we go into the Black Book and we go to First Steps, it will talk about soul energy, and this is basically going into the story of illager magic and their totems, and we're basically making a pseudo totem with the totem of roots. It's like a little lesser version of their more powerful illager totem. The totem of roots can be in your hotbar or your offhand. I'd recommend leaving in your hotbar, and while you have it in your hotbar, anytime you kill a creature you get soul energy. So we have 0 out of 100 now, but if we go and eliminate this horse, we will see that we now have 10 in there. If we eliminate the chicken, that will give us 20. Different creatures give you different amounts. The basic overworld creatures will give you about 10 apiece, maybe more. Pigs seem to have a lot of soul energy in them. Fill up to about 100 soul energy, and this soul energy is basically your mana. It is important to the rest of the mod. It is how you do almost everything else. One of the first things we're going to do with it is we're going to take 4 emeralds, if we can happen to find any emeralds, and we're going to take 4 lapis lazuli, put the totem of roots in the center, and we're going to create a new item using a mechanic which leaves the main crafting component behind, but if I'm correct, it will take some of the charge of it. So this will turn into awakened emeralds, and it'll decharge our totem of roots only by 1 energy, but it will also give us the secret of illagers, the awakened emerald. This is how they power their emeralds to make more powerful totems. And we're going to make one of those totems. Now, the reason why I told you to collect the soul lantern is so you can make the totem of souls, which is the upgraded totem of roots. Usually you'd have to get soul sand, which would require you to go to the nether. But luckily we got this from our graveyard. So we can now just collect 4 gold. We have a lot of these awakened emeralds, a little bit more lapis, and we can get a totem of souls. Totem of souls contains way more energy than the totem of roots. That is 10,000 energy compared to 100 energy. It is a massive upgrade. We can have both of them in our hotbar and it'll just take up more space, and both of them will charge up and give us power. We can see it will charge just like the others did, seeing that we have that amount now. And if we eliminate a zombie, that will give us 10 soul power extra. There are many things that can be done with the totem of souls or totem of roots as long as you're paying the soul energy. And one of those things is crafting this new item here, which is the cursed metal ingot. The cursed metal ingot is made by combining rotten flesh, iron, gold, spider eye, bones, and gunpowder, basically all the basic enemy drops, with precious metals and the soul totem to give you the cursed metal ingot. There is a much more efficient way to get it, however, but that does require a spawner, and this is why I said to leave the spawners behind in the graveyard. So how you do that is you take lapis lazuli, a block of coal, stone bricks, and a cauldron, so a little bit of iron, and that can make the cursed infuser. You then want to take a cursed infuser and put it on top of a creature spawner. A monster spawner like a zombie spawner or the black wolf spawner will work. You just dig out the grave above it, there's the monster spawner, you slap the infuser on top of it and dig out the area, and then you can work with it. Then all you have to do now is take normal iron, right click on top of the infuser, and after a short while it will convert it into the cursed metal without you having to pay the cost for it, which is a lot better method. The cursed infusions are far more efficient and it doesn't cost you anything. It's just fueled by the ether. Very useful things it can make. Running along that theme, you could surround 4 saplings around your soul totem, burn some energy to get your own haunted sapling to grow a haunted tree with, or again, you can throw it into the infuser and drain the weird spawner energy to create a haunted sapling. That applies to our next 2 items as well. That is the empty focus, inspired directly by thalmcraft, made with amethyst shards. Is very useful, so you want to make lots of those, but 4 amethysts could be expensive, but it'll just cost 1 amethyst and no soul energy if you apply it to the infuser. And finally along this vein is the Savage Tooth made with bone blocks. 6 cursed ingots will get you 16 cursed bars. Using 8 of them, you can make a cursed cage. The cursed cage is sort of like a pseudo spawner cage. It has many uses, but the first use we're going to put our cursed cage to requires our empty focus. By taking the cursed metal ingots, 4 of them, and surrounding an empty focus, we can get a fire spawn cage. The fire spawn cage lets us capture a spawner's fire, making this now contain a zombie entity. We can then take a cursed cage, place it down in the world, and we can then right click it with the fire charge, and that will put the monsters in there. Next, we're going to move on to fabric and clothing. There are a whole lot of different fabrics, all basic crafting recipes that you can look up, pretty straightforward. Except for the gale fabric. The gale fabric requires a resource we haven't seen before, and that is jade. Jade is a new ore that can be found in the world. It's usually found up high in mountains. If we go up into the mountains, we can see some jade here, and it behaves like any other ore. Jade can then be used to craft gale fabric and get you the complete set of fabrics. Gale fabric isn't the fabric we want to be making though. We want to be making magic fabric. Magic fabric is lapis and gold. Then with some additional lapis lazuli, empty focus, and a haunted wood plank, we can make the Dark Wand. Again, very thalmcraft feely. And with this item plus our focus, we can do some magic. It's empty right now, but we can start filling it with spells. So first, before we make the spells, we want to make a spell container. Spell container can be a focus bag. The focus bag goes into slots and it goes onto your belt. Now you have a fancy hip purse. It is made with leather, gold ingots, and the empty focus. This can now hold spells for your casting, or you can hold them manually. The first spell we're going to make is a light spell. Light spell is just a bunch of torches surrounding an empty focus, and this will give you the soul light focus. It costs 1 magic to cast. Shoots a projectile that creates a dim ball of light when it hits a location. We can now hover over our wand, and we can press Z. This will open up the Dark Wand, and we can put the light into it. Or if we happen to have the belt on, we can hold down X, and this will select from available spell focuses in our inventory. And then we can throw it back into the bag, or we can extract it into our inventory. Well, we have this in our inventory, and we have a power source of the Totem of Souls. We can now right-click with the spell, and it'll fire out a projectile, which will create a light on location. Another focus we can make is a portable crafting table. It is 4 wood and a focus, and when put into our wand, it will give us a crafting grid. Our final spell is a digging spell requiring 4 nether quartz, 2 emeralds, and 2 iron. And the burrowing focus fires out a range beam that digs for you while burning some of your mana. If you hover over your focus and you press U for uses, you can then look at the enchantments if you happen to have JEI. If not, well, sucks to be you. We can see that the burrowing focus has several different enchantments that can be applied to it. It can get fortune applied to it, it can get silk touch, it can get potency, burning, range, and magnetization. Each one of these has its own effect and enhances the focus in one way or another. To enchant these is the same process of enchanting any other item. You put them into the enchantment table, and then you add the lapis in there. If you have enough XP, you can then enchant it. So that will give us a potency 1 and burning 3 to our burrow. The potency makes it dig faster, and the burning makes it automatically smelt. By surrounding the Totem of Souls with stone, we can get shade stone, and by surrounding it with calcite, we can get marble. Shade stone, when turned into slabs and placed in a pattern of this sort of eye here that's about to be stomped on by a lantern, can create the pedestal. Then taking this pedestal and putting awakened emeralds to either side and more shade stone, you can make a dark altar. And with these items combined, plus a soul cage that is not a spawner, you can create a ritual site. The ritual site requires the soul cage to be put on the bottom and the dark altar to be put on top of that, then the pedestals around it. There is certain amounts of range that all of them require, which are outlined in the Black Book. If we look at rituals and we look at performing the ritual, it contains all these details of a 16 block radius and all the requirements. You can also visualize this by holding down Shift and right-clicking on the dark altar, and it will show you the range that it recognizes as this area of control. Why this range is so important is this ritual here by itself is useless. You require further blocks around it to actually do magic. There are a whole bunch of different kinds of rituals you can see in the Rituals and You chapter. To start off with, let's look at the Forge ritual. The Forge ritual requires there to be a cauldron of lava, furnace or a blast furnace, 2 of those, and an anvil within 16 of the dark altar and cursed cages setup. Another thing is the cursed cage requires power. To power it, you have to put your totem into the cursed cage, and this will provide soul power for your rituals. We got a demo ritual setup put here. This is the geology ritual and the animation ritual. We can see the geogeturgy here requires the altar to be below 32 and not exposed height, or 1 smithing table, 8 blocks of amethyst, and 16 deep slate blocks in any pattern set up around it, and so you can get kind of creative with it and make your own pretty little ritual. The other ritual is the animation ritual. This is 15 ladders, 15 rails, and 1 carbuncle. An example of how this ritual is placed is like this. What's interesting is you can find that setup inside the Woodland Manor, so it ties in the game into the mod. We have it set up completely differently. I just have the carbuncle head looking this way, and I have the rails set up here, and all of these are within the required area to recognize them. If you shift right click on it again, it will make the dome showing where you can do stuff disappear. To perform a ritual, you basically put the ingredients in it as it tells you. So let's say we want to make this animation core. We're going to press R to look at it using the JEI, and it's going to tell us this is a dark ritual type animation. So we have the animation set up there. Then it lets us know this requires a minecart, a boat, leather, and a feather on the pedestals with an empty focus on top of the dark altar. To begin, we have to put the items on the pedestals around it, then put the altar item on last, and have sufficient power to perform the ritual. It will consume the items and the soul power at a consistent rate, outlined by the ritual in the dark book. We will get 2 animated cores out of that ritual. For example, of the geoturgy ritual, we can make this targeting monocle that requires 2 leather, 1 ectoplasm, a glass, and a gold. Time of the game sounds turned on, so you can hear a little bit of noise going on. And that will give us the targeting monocle, which frankly is a useless item that doesn't even work on my player model. We're going to make a ranged attack spell, which is the soul bolt, requiring 3 arrows, the light spell, and a piece of ectoplasm, and this is just a simple projectile. And that will fire a slow moving projectile towards a target. The monocle does not help us at all with this. It has a different effect. To make the monocle work, we're going to have to make the fangs focus. That's the illager spell. That is made with 4 emeralds of enchantedness and 4 teeth and the empty focus. To cast a spell, you have to charge up a channel, and that'll release the spell. So with the monocle in place, it automatically locks onto the target. It will basically make us focus on them whenever we're doing our firing. So if we punch the sheep now, it's going to panic and run around, and it automatically tries to lock onto it. To be perfectly honest, the monocle is kind of rubbish, so we're not going to keep using it. Now, one block we're going to make before we get onto this mess is we're going to make the freezing lamp. Freezing lamp is pretty simple. It just requires ice, blue type, ectoplasm, and a glowing lantern, and that will make the freezing lamp. Freezing lamp is a cool item, literally. You put it down, and it will generate cold in the area. It'll freeze water, it'll drop snow, and it'll illuminate a small amount of light. Now, if you just want it for decorative reasons, or you don't want it to be frosting things, you can turn off with a redstone signal, and it will stop frosting the area. This here is all the rituals. If we open up our black book and go to the rituals in U chapter, we see there are a lot of different rituals. There is the animation ritual, we have already done that one. There's the forge ritual, the necroturgy ritual, which requires 16 non-wooden slabs, 16 sculk blocks, 8 non-empty flower pots, and it must be night. Here's an example here, kind of necrotic looking, kind of like a graveyard. Frost ritual requires these 4 freezing lamps, or you can just do it in a snow biome. You don't have to have everything in one. Already done the geoturgy. Magic ritual requires 16 bookshelves, 1 enchanting table, and 1 lectern with a book in it. You have to set it up with the book inside the lectern. Don't forget that, otherwise magic won't work. We've got the sky ritual, which requires you to be 128 blocks in the sky, or 8 marble blocks, 16 jade tiles, and 4 indented gold bricks. The storm ritual requires the same as the sky ritual, and in addition to that, it requires 4 lightning rods, 20 chains, and 12 copper blocks of any kind. So this one's requirements, basically, if you have the sky ritual, you can do the storm ritual. The storm ritual also requires it to be a storm outside, so you can't do it without it being stormy. Finally, the deep ritual requires 4 sea lanterns, 16 prismarine blocks, 16 granite blocks, and the altar needs to be waterlogged, which you can actually just do on the overworld like this, so have fun with that. And finally, the Sabbath ritual, which I have set up right now, but in reality you can ignore it for the time being, requiring 8 crying obsidian, 16 obsidian, 4 fiery souls. But really, just ignore it for now. We'll come back to this at the end of the tutorial. There are 2 rituals locked behind this little locker here, and to find out more about those rituals, we do have to go to the Nether. That will unlock them in our book, and that will give us the Adapt Nether ritual and the Expert Nether ritual. These require to be done in the Nether, so we can put them near our ritual site, but we can't do the total all-in-one. And we can have them also both set up into one site here. This is a cool pattern. I find that you just put the blocks however you want. You could set them up as pillars, or you could try to create whatever this mosaic is, and it works as long as it's within the boundaries. Any setup works. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's up to you if you want it to be pretty or not. And I think this one looks pretty baller, how I have it set up. Some of the blocks aren't necessary, some of them are extras, but it looks cool. I might say you might want to set up some fencing here, as every once in a while you may need to sacrifice a goat or a villager for your dark magics. Right, now we're going to run a few tests to make sure all our rituals are working, and at the same time we're going to make some items that are necessary for the rest of the mod. So first is the Hunger Core. Hunger Core is made with rotten flesh, soul stand, beef, and the Savage Fang. And this one requires the animation ritual to make the Hunger Core. The next one will show up as we made the Sky ritual correctly, and that is the Wind Core. The Wind Core requires a note block, sugarcane, glowstone dust, a feather, and some grass with the focus in the center, and that'll make a Wind Core. If you wish to try to copy this setup, I will give you a little freeze frame here and say best of luck to you. I'm also considering putting in my Patreon links to all the worlds and little mod packs I put together for this tutorial, so maybe you'll be able to find this world and this setup here. If you want to go to the Patreon and become a Patreon member, I might set it up there, and then that can be a reward for being a Patreon member, as you can get these worlds and blow them up with TNT because you hated my tutorial so much. Anyways, we got our wind cores here, so clearly the wind rituals are working. Magic core requires amethyst, redstone, ender pearl, gunpowder, and glow power to make the mystic core. Next, let's do the depths ritual. So this is going to make us a new focus, the tidal focus. So that is a block of lapis lazuli, water in a bucket, the nautilus shell, rare item that, phantom membrane, ectoplasm, slime ball, and prismarine crystals with a wind core will give us the tidal focus, and this is our first water spell. It's a fun one too. Hello, sheep. The ice ritual, we can do a very basic hail focus. That just requires powdered snow and a wind core to make the hail focus. And this over a target will summon a happy little snowstorm. And we're going to look at the storm ritual. So this we can just craft. We don't actually need a ritual. I will denote things requiring rituals with a dark altar on top. Things that don't, won't have it. So this just requires netherite and copper ingots plus the focus. Pattern like this will give you the shocking focus. If we go into here, we can look at some of the nether rituals we have set up. So we've got a basic one here for the... To start with, we can basically make the ignite focus, and that just lets us set a fire. And because of an update during recording, the next one doesn't require a ritual, so it's ruined the example. That's the fireball focus. This is made with 2 blaze rods, 2 gunpowders, 2 dispensers, and 2 blocks of coal in a pattern like this. Ignite focus in the center will create the fireball. And if we want to do an actual ritual requiring this setup here, do the expert ritual with the flame strike, which requires a few other focuses to be made, that being the updraft focus, which you can just craft normally, and then the fire breath focus, which you can also just craft normally. The blaze rod, magma block, and lava bucket will make you the flame strike, and after a very long charge, it will summon a pillar of fire from the ground, as expected from the sky. Disappointing. But there we go. Yeah, so that's another ritual we have set up with our nether ritual setup. You can make it look like this, requiring nether skulls and wart and fungus and all these redstone bricks. You can read it there, you can make it yourself, just as long as it's within the limits. Back to the overworld, you can go back to a little bit of the lightning magic. We're going to take our shocking focus, and we're just going to do some normal crafting to make the thunderbolt focus. Then we're going to take a netherrack, a clock, and the red mushroom, and we're going to perform a sky ritual to summon a storm. With our thunderbolt focus, we can take 2 blocks of copper, a prismarine shard, a prismarine crystal, a trident, and a lightning rod, and we can make sure that our storm ritual is set up correctly to do rituals of the storm. 2 blocks of copper, can't forget those. There we go. And the lightning will actually strike the lightning rods during the ritual, which is really fun because there's a thunderstorm going on. Lightning bolt will come down and complete it, and that will give us the lightning focus. And you can probably guess that it calls down a lightning bolt wherever you point it, as long as there's not lightning rods nearby. And finally, we want to check out this necroturgy ritual, so it has to be nighttime. And we're going to create a cool evil scythe. That does require a few items here. That is the savage tooth, haunted log, diamonds, cursed metal, hunger core, and a hoe. Bippity boppity boo, dark ritual for you. Create me an evil scythe with these collected sculk blocks hanging up in the air so they don't spread to the rest of the world. And there we go. We have an ominous scythe in hand to do some scything. Oh, random event zombie horde. Did you know Minecraft actually has random events which will just summon a giant zombie swarm? It's kind of cool. Those zombies though can cause us a bit of problem, so let's make ourselves a few little defenses here. Those can be pretty quick to make. We just require bamboo, vines, bone meal, and seeds put into a crafting table like a normal item. And we can make a basic defensive item, which is the quick growing seed. The quick grow seed is very cool. You can right click the ground with it and it will create a quick grow vine. But you can also shift right click and it'll plant a hidden quick grow vine. Then when a zombie comes walking along, bam! Vines grow and get in the way. So you can make a barrier that will pop up when you want it to. The main reason we make the quick grow seed though is so we can make this upgrade, which requires the venomous fang, corpse blossoms can be found in the jungle, and the venomous fangs come from cave spiders. And this makes the poison quill seed, which plants a new friendly plant for you, which fires poisonous quills at the quick grow vine. These things are aggressive. Create them normally, you'll get 4 out of it. You can bone meal the already existing one, and there's a chance to drop in new seeds for you. So as long as you get the first 4 and they don't die, you can then create infinite more from the bone meal. So you actually don't even need all that many spider fangs and those corpse blossoms. And if you want to make more of these seeds from the quick grow vines, you can also right click them. These also can lie dormant and hidden underground until a bad guy shows up, then bam, you'll attack them. And there's also underwater variants of these. So all it requires you is you just plant the seed underwater, and it'll create the quick grow kelp, and you create the poisonous anemonia, which is I think an underwater flower. So now we have these defenses down, let's talk about increasing our power output, because we actually happen to have a limited amount of power to work with. Sure, we can go kill creatures and charge our souls like that, but sometimes you need better sources of power to do your charging with. Let's say you've done a lot of spells and your totem of souls is empty, or you've been killed. Actually, this is interesting. Your totem of souls will save your life. It is in fact a totem and acts just like them. Of course, that'll use up all the energy it has inside it. So you just died and it saved your life. Now you want to recharge it, and you want to automate the recharging process. Well, instead of killing creatures, you can set up machines to do that for you. With the cursed metal bars, fire charge, emeralds, redstone, chiseled shade stone, and ectoplasm, you can make an ice fire trap. Ice fire trap requires a redstone signal to activate, so we'll make a clock. Clock will go around, combust, light these creatures on fire, and it will start charging your totem. Now, this here is an ordinary monster farm. Of course, I added some extra stuff to it. I threw in some zombie spawners, which, if you happen to find them, you can now create. You can also put the black wolves in there, and this is a perfectly legitimate way to farm yourself souls. Other farmers for mobs can be made, and can probably be made much more efficiently than this one. If you want to do a lot of digging, because these structures do require a lot of dirt, usually set up, so they use dirt and stone. There's an item that can expedite your digging. It does require a little bit of a ritual. That is block of bone, haunted log, lapis lazuli, cursed metal ingot, diamond and shovel, but that can make the grave robber's shovel. When you dig with it, it'll dig 2 blocks instead of 1. If you're digging forward, it'll dig up. And every time you dig with it, it has a 10% chance to access the skeleton or zombie item drop table and give you items from that table. Waystones. Waystones are made with flint and maps and bone, and that makes a waystone. The waystone is a teleportation device that lets you mark a place, then teleport it doing magic rituals. So you take a normal waystone and you right-click a location, and now it's a bound waystone. And then you can do all sorts of stuff with them. First, we're going to do the right ritual of teleporting yourself, which is just a Eye of Ender and an Ender Pearl with the Waystone thrown on top of it. It will suck away some of your mana and teleport you to said location that you have marked out. So that's pretty handy. Next, we are going to make one of the most disgusting things this mod has to offer, and that is the spider nest. The spider nest is made by having some sort of raw meat surrounded with spider eggs. Spider eggs are got from all sorts of chests, and they can also be gotten from killing spiders. Combined together, you get the spider nest. Put this spider nest down, feed the nest raw meat. It'll make wonderful noises, and then it will give you a loyal pet spider, which will patrol around the area and protect you and hunt for you and fight for you. So give. Left clicking on a spider with a dark wand will change its orders types, slowly cycling through them. There is follow, wander, standby, and patrol. Now these spiders though are kind of lame. They're just normal little babby spiders. So we're going to order this spider to follow me, and we're going to transform it into a giant spider. So for that, we're going to need venomous fang, lapis lazuli, ectoplasm, occult fabric, and a savage tooth. Come along. And once all things are in place, we get this cutie patootie here, the brood mother. And we can ride her as a wonderful little mount. Let's just get her out here. Come along. There we go, my dear. Oh, isn't she just adorable? Just look at her. Yeah, and you can give her all sorts of wonderful settings too with the wand, such as wander, standby, patrol. You can even jump with her. That is kind of disturbing. I say go all for it and get yourself a brood mother, because it's a good mount, looks cool, can really defend you and help you fight things. Right, so that is the horrible giant spiders to the extent we're going to explore them for now. Now let's look at some other magical stuff we can do. So if we surround an empty focus with awakened emeralds, we can get a concentrated emerald. The concentrated emerald's main use for us next will be to make a witch's hat. So that is 4 dark fabric, 2 string, and the concentrated emerald to make our witch's hat. And the witch's hat doesn't go on the head, it instead goes on top of the head bauble slot, and it'll give us a little witch's hat. Witch's hat speeds up witch's robe's inner brewing stand and slowly grants fuel in the moonlight, and has a 10% chance of not consuming potions. The more important thing for us to make after the witch's hat will be the witch's robe. The witch's robe does require 2 slime balls to make, then bunch of occult fabric and 2 sticks and a brewing stand. But this, more interestingly, gives us the ability to press V and we have an internal brewing stand, so we can go brew stuff while on the move and take the potions out if we so want to. There we go, made a bunch of mundane potions, and it's a lot faster with that hat on. The other really big thing the witch's robe does is it makes us 85% resistant to magic damage, which is huge in Goety because there's a lot of enemies that deal magic damage. So gaining an 85% resistance to that cuts a lot of the damage you can take down almost 90%. Another bit of gear we're going to want to make to empower ourselves is the spiteful belt. The spiteful belt unfortunately does take up the belt slot, but it basically gives you an extra bit of thorns on your body. That is just made with leather, iron, cactus, sweet berries, and occult fabric inside a dark ritual, like the other two items were also made. The spiteful belt, you can put that on and replace your other belt, and that hurts attackers with thorns when they deal damage to you. It's a nice extra buff thing to have. Now, to summon undead, because this is sort of necromancy of dark arts, not all about the giant spiders, we can make a new magic focus called the rotting focus. The rotting focus is made with the animation focus, carrot, potato, iron for rotting flesh, and those are the basic drops the zombie can give you. When put into our wand, we can summon zombies. The zombies will burn in sunlight, so there's some limitations to that. But what else we can do with it is we can turn it into the Shade Gravestone. That with a curse cage, ectoplasm, curse plots, soul sand, 2 mossy cobblestone, and some shadestone, plus the it in the center, we can create the shady gravestone, which is basically the zombie version of the spider nest, and this one we feed iron ingots. And you can also pat your companions that are summoned, and you can heal them with rotting flesh. Alright, now that our base is secured, let's secure a village with the hook bell. That is made with the ender chest, cursed metal ingot, emerald, soul shrieker, sculk shrieker, whatever, and a bell. And this will make the hook bell, which is an upgraded version of the village bell. And for this next step, with this bell, we also need to get ourselves some better gear, because being naked or having witch robe isn't entirely going to cut it. So we're going to get diamond armor, and we're going to enchant it. And we're going to enchant it with Goety's enchanting system, which involves rituals. So this one requires lapis lazuli and a block of iron, and we take it to the ritual site, and it will give us protection 1. It will cost 5 experience. Next time we do it, it'll cost 10 experience, but it will be the same price of lapis lazuli and the block of iron each time. A protection 1 diamond helmet. So you can enchant with this ritual setup. There's all the enchantments are listed within rituals and enchantments with rituals. So you can look through it and see all the various different enchantments available to you. For us, we're getting the protection on the diamond armor, and either through normal means, because enchantment can be quite cheap if you do it right, or through these methods, which, well, as guaranteed, is also a little expensive, you can get yourself some very good gear. As we see here, this is also the Thorns enchantment set up here. So this helmet here will have Thorns 3 and Protection 4, which is kind of as good as it gets. So we'll put on a full set of that, and then we will make the most overpowered focus in the mod pack. And that is the Hungering focus. For Goety, which is going to be the Feasting focus. The Feasting focus is made from the Biting focus, which we had earlier, and this requires 4 ender pearls and a hunger core, and this will give you the Feasting focus. And why the Feasting focus is so amazing is it summons Seeking Biting Teeth. As you can see, that is very strong, because it basically auto-hits without you having to aim. I'm now going to trigger a raid, which you probably want to happen at some point in playing this mod pack. Now, what you want to do with your hook bell before a raid begins is you want to set it up in a little prison situation like this, a little fighty arena. And then we hear the sound of the raiders in the distance, and we hit our hook bell, and it teleports all of the raid members to the hook bell's location. And if you have it set up in a prison, then you can get all of them. And then we take our dark wand with the Feasting focus, and it happens to have that AoE effect as well, as it will hit multiple targets in the area. And so we just kind of have to deal with them as a group. Now, some of the enemies are resistant to magic damage, so I'd recommend getting a bow to deal with them. And you can just set up something cheeky like this down here to deal with them. So the raid is here. You want to wait for the raid to fully form, give it a few seconds, and ring the bell. And it appears we have some sort of ice caster in there, Cryologer. See, one of them there had its own little totem of Undying it was using. It's kind of silly that the Illagers don't use their own totems of Undying. So we heard that happen there. Okay, let the horn blow. Ring the hook bell. Let them all teleport inside. And start doing this. Okay, well. Appears they have some stormcasters in there as well. But we've got very good armor. We're pretty tanky. So we've dealt with that. I just need to deal with this Inquilitor here. I really like that this adds a huge amount of new Illagers, because it is a mod about expanding Illagers and sort of adding new ones to the game and new interesting things. And so having even the raid have more Illagers is kind of fun. Can I? Oh, I can shoot the bell to ring it. That's very useful to know. Let the raid begin, and then I can actually do it from a safe distance. There's the horn. Other weapons are available too. Just I would recommend an alternative to magic. There we go, hero of the village. And more importantly, look at all this loot. Now surprisingly, I didn't find any totems of the Undying in here, so we're going to have to pull one. He dropped it, it happened, you all saw it. And so that's some new chapters in our book unlocked. Now these chapters are going to be found under exploration and the bestiaries, and it's going to talk about the warlocks, the mavericks, the strange incident about invokers and them using totems, and the Ilgar hunters, and there's a whole list of new nasty hunters that seek you down and fight you. Now then, find yourself a goat's horn. That makes that noise. You want the plundering goat's horn, and in a crafting table, just normally, you will take netherite scrap, a little expensive, and some gold ingots, and put it all together, and you can make the blazing horn. The Blazing Horn is going to summon our first boss battle. That was just a little bit of a raid, but now we're going to fight a boss. So to fight this boss, we are going to go to a fortress. So we're going to end up at the Terrible Fortress, and we're going to set up a little bit of an arena looking like this. Now, the trapdoors are very important here, and the trapdoors like this are very important, especially with the pit below us. Maybe about 12 blocks. Then simply you're going to take the Blazing Horn while here, and you are going to blow it in the general direction of the pit. And then you're going to parkour your way over here. As you can see, we have this nether skeleton summoned here. But the interesting fact is there's some rules to how he works. So this thing here protects us from his projectiles. He is sort of stuck in his position there. He's not going anywhere. He can summon enemies, but they can't get to us. And because he's tall, he can't get out. It's better if he's in the pit, but he doesn't always end up there. And we also happen to have the wand with this feasting focus again. So we simply start chomping him, and his attack is that Flame Strike, which summons fire underground and sends it up at us. So he can't get us in any meaningful sense right now. His summons can't affect us, and we're completely safe from his fire. And we don't even need to see him, because we've got the feasting focus, so we just sit here, and we win. Now, one of the main things to realize is when placing the trapdoor, make sure it's off kilter by 1. I'm not certain if it's the trapdoor or it being offset by 1, but it makes it impossible for the ground spells to be cast. And doing this method makes it very easy to win. And now, you can also get the treasure. And he's going to reverse us a little bit of our scrap. He's also going to give us the withered manuscript, which is the reason why we wanted to kill him. And he drops this lofty chest, which also gives us some netherite scrap. And this treasure pouch, which will just have some sort of random goodies in it. This one had gas tears, diamonds, and ender pearls, so that's not that bad. With him beat, we can now take the withered manuscript he gave us, 2 ectoplasm, 1 blaze rod, 1 soul sand, and a piece of paper in a dark ritual to make the bygone scroll. This is an expert nether ritual, so you do have to do it in the nether. Once you have the scroll, you just right click with it and you will read it and learn the research. It also gives you some new lore to the game. The earlier passages plus this one basically talk about in the nether there was the Nephilim and the nether necromancers and they fought or some such stuff. After beating him, there is also a chance you will find an item called a forbidden piece. You really want to collect these, and they can be combined into forbidden fragments. He's not always going to drop them, but whenever you get them, hold on to them. They let you do awesome stuff later in the mod. After that, we are going to go on another adventure. We are going to go to the Windbag's house. This is a new structure which has a bunch of hammerers and wind wizards in it. You can kind of avoid their tender ministrations by running through here really fast, or you can fight them if you want to, just by going chomp, chomp, chomp. We're not too concerned with them, though. We are more concerned with their treasure. I mean, their normal treasure is nice. It's got jade. We want to collect a lot of jade. But the thing that interests us most from the windbags is if we go up and up again through these little hidden holes in the jade, they will have a hidden chest right here, which happens to have the Mistral Scroll, which we can learn some new research from, which unlocks new things for us. So now that we have that research and we have sufficiently pillaged the place, we can return home. Now, maybe with the resources again, maybe not. You next want to make a wind core, then some feathers with some phantom membrane, glowstone, and a shield all put together to create the whirlwind focus. Then you also want to take fireworks, about 3 of them, phantom membrane, and the wind core to make the launching focus. From here we are going to make our first new magical staff. That is going to be the storm staff. The storm staff requires a lightning rod, some blocks of copper, 2 cursed metal, a diamond, lapis lazuli, magic fabric, redstone, and your dark wand in the center, and that will give you a storm staff, which is a more powerful wand which helps cast your storm spells a little bit better. And finally, we make your storm robes, or gale robes. That is 1 orange dye, 3 gale fabrics, 2 magic fabrics, a potion of featherfall, and a wind focus. So the wind robes are going to replace our witch's robes for the moment. It's not going to be a permanent thing, it's just going to be a thing for now. And I actually recommend making 2 storm staffs for this next jaunt, because you can basically give yourself flying. If you have your storm staffs and one of them has the focus of launch and the other one has whirlwind, you put the whirlwind staff in your offhand and you put the launch staff into your main hand. Your offhand will allow you to levitate. The launch staff then sends you in a direction whenever you right click. So with the combination of these 2, at the expense of your mana, you can basically fly and hover. And then with the wind robe, if you're high up, when you fall, it will grant you featherfall so you do not take damage. And so now that we can basically fly, we're going to go to the worst place in Minecraft. Now this place has several things we want in it. It's got a lot of sculk. It's also got the catalysts. We want those, so we're going to need a good pickaxe to mine those. But why we want this combination is this flying combination is actually pretty quiet. And the sensors do hear it, but nowhere near as much. And also lets you avoid Mr. Warden Boy quite a bit, because you're flying away, and you can also just get away from him really fast doing this. And while we're down here and we're collecting things, we also want to be getting these chests. Oop, someone's not happy. And we're going to get the echo shards, some sculk centers. We're going to get this ward scroll. There's cool magic items in here as well. And we're basically sneaking his treasure from under him. Oh, we pissed it off. Time to move. And we can really boogie with this as well. So we can actually get out of harm's way, drop down to safety, and just wait for the darkness to wear off. And the other main thing we want to be pilfering is he also has scroll fragments in some of the chests here. And with our new scroll, we can read that and get some more research done. Now, if you want to fight the Warden, my main advice is just send summons at him. Next, we're going to give you a way to mine a little bit faster if you're not using the burrowing charm, and that's just by making the hammer. The hammer is made with the forging ritual, pickaxe in the center, huge amount of iron blocks, a piece of emerald, and an oak log will give you a great hammer. The great hammer can also be right-clicked onto a block of iron and turn it into a very damaged anvil. Its use is that it mines blocks faster. Not dirt, but if we happen to hit stone with it, it will break them in that classic 3x3, and you can add enchantments and all sorts of fun things to it. Next, we're going to make the phylactery, or as the mod calls it, the Arca. The Arca requires a recovery compass, which requires those echo shards that you went and collected. It also requires dark prismarine, 2 obsidian, a respawn anchor, which is a weird item I didn't even know existed by his base game, a lodestone, which requires 1 netherite ingot, so a little bit expensive. It will require your totem of souls, and it will require ender pearl as well as a cursed cage, but once you have it all made, you can get the Arca. You can only have 1 Arca. Don't try making more than one. One's all you're going to have. Put the Arca down someplace safe, and now this is your Arca. It isn't useful to you yet, though. The next thing you have to do with the Arca is get some redstone, awakened emerald, soul sand, and an ender pearl, normally crafted, and you can make the transference gem. And then you can bind that to your Arca, and now it is bound, and the Arca is useful, sort of. So how the Arca works is it is now your new totem of souls. It can store 100,000 souls in it, and it powers you from anywhere in the world. If you want to use soul cages, you put the binding gem into the soul cage, and it will now draw power from your Arca to power that ritual. If we happen to have spare totems with power stored in them, we need to extract that with a new item, which is the soul absorber. It is made with a hunger core, shade stone bricks, cursed metal ingot, and a hopper, as well as the cursed infuser in a ritual will create the soul absorber. We can then put the soul absorber on top of our Arca, and we can then take our totem of souls and we can put that onto the soul absorber, and that will drain the souls out of that and put them into the Arca for us. If we look at the soul absorber, it also lets us know that it can drain evoker totems of their soul power, and even soul sand can be absorbed from it. So if you happen to know how to make a soul sands farm or invoker farm, unlimited power. Next, the Shade Brazier. The Shade Brazier is made with cursed metal ingots, coal, shade stone slabs, and a magma block. This will create the Shade Brazier, which is fancy looking. You can light or unlight with a right click. It's decorative, it is light. It can be made into the Necro Brazier. It is made with the cursed infuser, ectoplasm, a zombie head, a skeletal head, and a wither head, as well as a green candle, well, any candle works really, a awakened emerald, 1 sculk catalyst, and that shade stone in the center during a ritual, and that will make this new creepy necro brazier. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take cursed metal ingot, cursed metal bars, and a candle, and we're going to make a soul candlestick. Then we are going to go to the bottom of the earth. And this will take us to a new fancy dancy room. So this room here, what we do is we have to be inside the deep dark. It will say somewhere on this graph that we're in the deep dark, but we also just happen to know that we're in the deep dark now. Once we are in the deep dark, you want to put some soul cages nearby. You can link them with different things, or you can just put your own lots and lots of extra totems in there, and you want to put the soul candle on top. When the soul candle is on top of a cursed cage getting power, the candle will burn with a light on it. When the Necro Brazier is in the deep dark with candles nearby that can power it, it will get this green flame coming off it. With both of those going, now we take the Cursed Metal Ingot, the Sculk, and the Gas Tier, and we right-click on the Necro Brazier with them, and then the candles will infuse this combination with evil necrotic power from the deep underground, and it will burn through a lot of souls. Like a lot of souls. and this will create dark metal ingots. And dark metal ingots are like super powerful evil magic items. These items have the hardness of diamond and almost the enchantability of gold. So they're all pretty swanky. It talks about them underneath the tools if you want to go to dark metal ingots. So it talks about dark metal and its properties. It also slows and weakens creatures that are struck by it. This is an incredibly useful substance, if not very expensive. So be sparing with your uses of it, and honestly, I would say don't waste it on tools just yet until you can have a high supply of it. Now, servants are always nice, and this is a mod about dark magic, and you want to be the dark wizard, which is good luck getting to me, I'm behind a million skeletons. So let's summon some skeletons with a new magical artifact, and that is going to be using the animation core, 4 bones, 2 arrows, and the fletching table to get the osseous focus, which is Latin for bone. This focus only lets us summon temporary skeletons. We can get permanent skeletons by summoning them in a ritual. Taking a bone, an arrow, and a bow, with the bone in the center of the necrothurgy, will summon for us a skeletal minion and another zombie horde. There's our skeleton minion. He is an underwater skeleton because of this water block, and we can give him a hat. So now we can summon skeletons if we so desire, and we can just make them permanently. If we want to make a variant type of skeleton like you saw with that well during the summoning, we can make different staffs and wands, and that will create new kinds of skeletons. If we go underneath the summons tab and we go look at the skeletons in the servants, it tells us all about the different kinds of skeletons we can summon and how to get that done. So if we want to summon a poisonous skeleton, what we can do is we can take a cursed metal ingot, a corpse blossom, a bone, block of lapis lazuli, fermented spider eye, magic fabric, slime ball, and oak with the dark wand, and we can make a wild staff. Then with the wild staff with a necro skeleton summoning focus in it, we'll summon the poisonous mossy skeleton servants. Now at some point during this process of you learning this mod and encountering things, you are probably going to encounter the white at some point. And because the white is so bloody dangerous, we have to be ready to fight the white. So planting these things all over the place is probably just a good idea in general, as well as having lots and lots of spiders. You can even get variety spiders if you still want to. You can summon some icy spiders. Maybe a brood mother or 2. Because when the white comes, he is going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with. So having an unbelievably large horde of minions to help fight for you will be a very good idea. Now, while they are fighting the white, you should just run away constantly and let everything that you have deal with him, because he hits really hard and he summons nasty little minions. There he is, the wonderful teleporting creepy fellow. Also, a sword with smite on it isn't a bad idea. Smite deals a lot of damage. In fact, it increases a diamond sword 7 damage to 19.5. So that's a large increase for damage output. There we go. And victory is achieved. He will now drop ender pearls and this dark shadowy essence, which is great to have. So the thing about the white is he shows up when you have a lot of souls. He just shows up randomly to punish you, basically, for having that much. And you just want to be ready to kill him. Now, his essence can do all sorts of things. It can make this wonderful item with 4 of them, which is the Soul Mender. And the Soul Mender is also made with an anvil, a soul campfire, and some shadestone. And when powered by soul energy, it can take your broken armor that's being damaged by all your eventers and basically start to repair it for you using that soul energy. The other thing he can do is if you combine the Eye of Ender with the 4 Shadow Essence, you can get the Cryptic Eye. See, it's a little bit more repaired now. And the Cryptic Eye lets you find a new fun adventuring location. It also will teleport back to you. And this will bring you to the crypt. And so now we can go on a grand adventure to the crypt. Right, part 3, necromancy. Time to get a little bit more into the necromancy. So, we already have made the rotting focus, so we're not too concerned with that, but there are a few more necromantic items we can craft to make our summoning hordes of undead more powerful. The first one we're going to make is the necrotic crown, or the necro crown. That's made with occult fabric, bones, concentrated emerald, ectoplasm, and a spirit fabric to give you the necrotic crown, using a ritual, of course, to create it. That would be the necroturgy. The necrotic crown has the cast time of necromancy spells, however it does weaken you when worn in sunlight. Then there is the necro cape, which is just a whole smattering of different cloths, ectoplasm, bone, made also with the necroturgy ritual. This one lets undead servants gain extra abilities but gives you hunger 3 when worn in sunlight. So it makes undead actually quite a bit more powerful when you summon them. Each one is listed under its own thing here, actually. If we go into summons and we click on, I think it's skeletons here, it will tell us that skeleton servants will attempt to kill anything that hurts you. If summoned when wearing the necro cape, the arrows pass through allied mobs, which makes the skeletons way better. And so all the different things get buffed. Of course, wearing the necro cape means you have to take off the witch's robe, which does remove that 85% magic resist. So not 100% certain if it's a worthwhile trade. It's kind of how many enemies you're going to be fighting with magic at their disposal. Then we can make the necro staff, dark wand surrounded by cursed metal, ectoplasm, lapis lazuli, and spirit fabric to make the necro staff. And then finally, I think one of the most important items when it comes to necromancy is actually the ring of forges. This one requires one of those essences of shadow, so it's expensive, a chain, concentrated emerald, ectoplasm, anvil, and leather, and this goes onto a ring slot. And this thing is incredible because newly summoned zombies and skeletons will always be wearing armor if you wear this ring, which them wearing armor is a pretty massive buff to them. So if we summon zombies now, they will summon with hats. We can get the zombies and we can get the skeletons. And then we can bust our way in here. And we've got already some dangerous enemies for our own horde to fight. Alright, that's those armors killed. That's a new chapter unlocked as well. It's a little bit dark in here, I must say. So, there you go. Now we can see. And down we descend. Going to have to leave some of the servants behind, but ooh, look at that. We've gotten some cursed night leggings as well in the mix. And our crypt is full of all sorts of nasty fellows for us to have to fight as well. So we're going to summon ourselves a few friends to help out with this whole situation. When you have this much necromantic power, why not use it? I think that crypts are great for collecting various different spawners, so you can charge your various different things. There's just chock full of various different monsters to deal with. And this place is chock full of skulls, so you can collect a lot of skulls in here. You can break those urns. And ooh, a treasure chest with haunted scroll in it. This is a scroll that we do need to find, so we'll take that scroll out and we'll read it. And now we'll enter spectator mode so we can get a better look at the size of this dungeon, and we can locate the boss chamber, which is what we're looking for. I also noticed while traveling through here there is a little secret hidden in one of the walls, as well as some of those forbidden peace fragments that we're looking for. So that's also nice to find. And once we go down a layer deeper, we can find the Crane. It's like between Karen and Crane, the actual pronunciation. Anyways, I guess we have a challenger to our necromantic prowess here. I think we can outclass him. But he's got spawners on his side. Luckily, we got a sword of smite, so we'll just kill him with that. And that will give us a new entry into our book. I believe it'll tell us how to even summon those things, in fact. So that's useful. So these necromancers have a small chance to drop these forbidden pieces as well. So it's a good time to beat them up too, because you can get that rare drop off them as well. But here we are at the main thing we're looking for, which is the boss chamber. Just deal with the trained necromancer, and we will get the access to the boss chamber, which has been modified by me. I find it's probably best if you block off the way into it so you won't be disturbed by anyone. No, just old classic, no one can come in, no one can come out. And then once you're here, you want to build a very peculiar structure. So normally this wood isn't around it. Basically, what this structure is for is to, again, abuse the behaviors of entities. So this here, we can walk in. It's a half slab ceiling, so this is only actually 1.5 blocks tall. And you really want this. You want to build this space around the structure, this 1.5 block tall space, because you can walk around it crouching, but the enemies can't do really anything about it. And then you want to find this block here, which is the pithos, and you want to surround it completely. Leave one side open to have a trapdoor on it, and that's it. And you also actually want to close yourself in this chamber so no one else can get in. So you can basically do this here, and you're the only one that'll fit inside it. And then it's very simple. Usually this is a very tough, hard-fought boss fight. But for us, it's going to be ridiculously easy, because we've got our mana. You can see in the right bottom corner there, which is a decent amount of mana. And we've got our Dark Wand, which summons the Chompy Chomps. And it does that for 8 souls per summon. On the Feast and Focus, that's pretty cheap. So what you do is you right-click on the Pythos, and then you close the trapdoor, and it will summon the Squall with his mount. And you don't want to cast the Zombie Servant spell. That's a mistake. What you want to cast is just the Chomps, and that will chomp that Squall right there. You can just basically keep biting him. The reason for this setup is so he can't cast spells at us, nor can he get his summons after us. So this whole room was basically designed to subvert that boss. Then once he's beaten, you get his treasure bag, which sometimes has good stuff in it. But more importantly, you can now open up the Pythos, which will have all sorts of goodies in it. One of those goodies being the Forbidden Fragment. That is one step closer to ultimate power. But what's more is, now that we're out here in this chamber, we can open up these, and we get to play with these chests too, which also have loot in them. We want to head back home briefly to craft a new item. These items are pretty common to craft, and it is a respawn anchor. Now, a respawn anchor requires crying, obsidian, and glowstone to make, but they're very weird. They basically let you respawn in the nether. They're a base game thing. This mod's added something to them. If you go into the Black Book and you go into Rumors and Gossip, you can go to the anchoring experiments, and it talks about basically using an anchor on the plundered jar. And we're wondering, okay, plundered jar, what's the deal with that? Well, that's the thing we opened. So we happen to go back to the crypt with the respawn anchor. We can take the respawn anchor, we can right-click on the Pythos, and it locks it again. That has also completed the anchoring experiment, but basically lets us fight that boss again, and so we can farm him for his resources, and the cost isn't that bad. No, these chests do stay unlocked, you can't loot them again, but if we kill Mr. Iggums again, we get another treasure pouch, and we can open the Pythos again. And oh, look at that, it's got that haunted scroll in it from earlier, before I learned this. But it's also got another forbidden fragment, another helmet, and some other treasure. And so, as long as you have crying obsidian, you can basically fight that boss over and over again, which is great, because usually this stuff can be pretty annoying to get, but he gives you a very good chance of actually getting it. There is a very interesting thing we haven't addressed yet, which is about our wonderful arcane, which is, if it is charged with sufficient power, that being over 10,000, and we are to die, it will save our life and teleport us next to it. So before, when we had a sufficiently filled totem, it would save our life and be in our inventory like a token of dying. The arcane saves our lives and brings us back to it. So it is sort of like a save game checkpoint. May or may not be a good thing. Sometimes it's better not to teleport back, but it's sort of like the teleportation of last resort. Now, if you're trying to kill someone and they happen to teleport back, that's really annoying, because they're probably going to hide their arcane somewhere sneaky so that they can get out of situations. So what you have to do is you have to make a recovery compass, hunger core, ender pearl, netherite ingot, and obsidian, and create the arcana compass. Fighting a foe can be a real struggle. As said, a lot of time and guesswork. Fortunately, you've discovered a way to locate the foe. What you simply do is if you kill a foe while holding the compass in either hand, it'll bind to that player, and then it will point you the way to their arcana. A new ritual we can do, that we discovered from that scroll, is Shade Stone plus armor stand and ectoplasm in a ritual can create the haunted armor stand. Haunted armor stand's got armor, it's all black and spooky. You can put gear on. If you animate coherent, you'll animate into a walking suit of armor, which is now your servant. If you want to command your servants a little bit better, because it's a lot of effort going around slapping each one with a staff, you can make some new items. First one's going to be the Grimoire of Goodwill. It's crafted pretty simply here: ink sacks, white banner, book, feather, golden apple. So what the Grimoire of Goodwill is for is normally, if we have a husk down here, my giant spiders will just murder him. However, I can add this husk to the Grimoire of Goodwill with a left click, and my minions should not attack him unless in self-defense. That's the main idea behind it anyways. Clear it again by hitting the entity another time, and now the husk is no longer my entity of Goodwill, and is yet again enemy. Right, so here we have some skeletal servants that are loyal to me. If we, with our necro staff, we have the necromancer focus stamp for skeletons, and they're far away from us, we can hold shift down and cast the spell. And it will summon our already existing skeletal servants to us. Or sometimes that is a bother. We don't want those skeletons coming. Or maybe there's specific skeletons we don't want being summoned to us, and it'll summon all the skeletons to us. So we can make the Grimoire of Grounding, and this will make it so we can add certain skeletons to it, and now they are grounded. So when we summon the whole lot, only the ungrounded one will appear. To unground the grounded skeletons, we right-click them with the Grimoire of Grounding, and then they will no longer be grounded. And finally, we have the Grimoire of Grudges, which basic function is, let's say we really hate pigs, and we want no pigs ever to exist near us. We can add a pig to the Grimoire of Grudges, and now my entities that normally want to target pigs will now try to murder all the pigs. And so you can add other players to this as well, or you can add them to the Friends book. The main idea is basically you can add a new target to have a grudge against. So, if you want to add all pigs, you have to shift punch the pigs, and now all pigs are added instead of just one specific pig. And so, now we hate pigs forever, and there will be a pigicide. Next, we have the Grim Infuser. Grim Infuser is crypt tiles surrounding a cursed infuser in a ritual to make the Grim Infuser. That is a forge infuser. It requires the haunted scroll also to learn and cast. And the Grim Infuser lets us make multiple infusions at once, so we don't have to wait for one at a time. And we can also take obsidian, and we can throw obsidian in there, and that will give us crypt stone. So we've already made the ominous scythe, and all of you know about that. But there is also the dark scythe, which is basically upgrading the ominous scythe into the dark scythe using dark metal ingots, a lapis, and occult fabric. Will make the dark scythe, and that's a spookier scythe. Watch out! Now, one of the important things this scythe can do is it can collect sculk without needing silk touch. If you want to swing your scythe faster, because it's got a slow cooldown, you can do a magic ritual with 2 of that sculk you just mined, rotten flesh, leather, and spirit fabric to make the grave glove. And these gloves make it so your scythe swing has a lower cooldown, so it's actually a useful item now. Right, next on the to-do list is a Wayfarer's Belt. This helps us exploring and find places that are hard to get to. It is pretty simply made with gale fabric, rabbit's foot, leather, gold ingot, and a pufferfish. And that will give us the Wayfarer's Belt. And this belt makes us just a little bit faster and gives us step up. So traveling is just a little bit easier. We could also make some better gear than what we have here, although this gear is pretty good. We just need to repair it, and all these enchantments make it quite powerful. But if you want to make stronger gear that's easier to enchant, you can make black metal gear. So the first one is made with a diamond in the corner, 2 iron ingots, 2 cursed metal ingots, and helmet, and that will give you the black iron helmet. It also gives you soul discount, which is really good. Has 2 armor toughness and 2 armor. Can also make the black iron chest piece via this method here, the black iron leggings via this method here, and the black iron boots like this. As a whole, it's not a very bad looking set. It looks a little grim, and that suits it just fine. You can also take these items and upgrade them again into the dark metal. So from the black iron helmet, you can make it into the dark metal helmet. And that is with the dark metal ingots, 2 of those, a awakened emerald, a bone, and a spirit fabric with that helmet in the center of your ritual, which these all require rituals. You can then make this very cool dark helmet, which gives you a soul discount of 5, and knockback resistance, armor, and toughness, making it almost on par with netherite armor, making it equal to diamond, but has that knockback resistance, and this gives you a 5 soul discount, which is really good. It's also quite enchantable. The chest piece is made with a lot of dark metal and a lot of cursed metal, and 2 spirit fabric, black iron chest piece in the center. Then the pants is made with 2 and 2 and 2 spirit fabric, cursed metal, dark metal ingot, and the shoes are pretty simple with just 2 dark metal, black boots, and the spirit fabric. This gives us the Forged in Darkness set. And now we look like a evil necromancer samurai, I guess. Next we have the Fanged Dagger. This dagger is just made with the Spider Fang, Savage Tooth, Cursed Metal Ingot, and a stick. And this dagger is poisonous and attacks really fast. And it's nice to have a fast attacking item. And we can then combine this item with a whole bunch of those Essence of Shadow, a diamond, a lapis lazuli, and a dark metal ingot to make the Hungry Dagger. And the Hungry Dagger is a nice item because it heals the wielder for 5% of the damage dealt. This lifesteal percentage is increased with the Soul Eater enchantment on it. It also swings really fast. It is no longer poisonous, but you can basically give it Soul Eater, make it attack fast, and it has lifesteal on it, so you can sustain yourself in battle. It does deal low damage, but still enough to one-shot a chicken. And you can enchant it as you would like. Has Soul Eater 5 and Sharpness 5, which makes it a very scary weapon. So that's 7 damage, attack 2.4, and lifesteal. Back to adventuring now. There's a whole bunch of other places we have to go to. To begin with, let's go to the pyramids. Here we are, pyramids, lovely. Found one of these spots. We'll just go on in. And we can open up these chests. The one we're looking for is we're looking for the font scroll, and we're looking for the buried scroll. Those give us some new insights in research into magic. Other treasures down here are okay, but those are the ones we cared about. Next we want to find the jungle pyramid, and we're going to find yet more research scrolls to complete our list of magic in our book. Just look up for the traps here, and it should be in this chest here. There we are, the floral scroll, and that will let us summon a giant gorilla made of vines. Next, back to the desert to find the buried ritual, and this happens to have right here some suspicious sand we can clear away. Oh, it's just a lame one. But this is also just an interesting sight, because you can get a soul cage out of it, and you can get husk spawners if you want to. You can find Crine Obsidian here, there's Shade Stone. So if you happen to start in a desert, it can basically help you get started. After that buried ritual, we can also go exploring again, and we can find this cool dark manor. Now, the dark manor is a little bit different than the woodland manor. It's full of all sorts of treasures, including just treasures attached to it. The block of emeralds, that's quite nice. This one's also got some interesting enemies in it. So it has witches in it. You have to deal with those. It's got a lot of art and bookshelves. It gives you an insight into the illager life as well. So they got their food in here. We've got pikers, which are basically illager guards. Upstairs, we got some further upstairsy rooms. Pikeneer, paintings. Little bedroom with a vindicator, chilling. Got a closet in here with some fancy leather armor, which resembles basically the illager wear, so you could wear that for yourself and look like them. This is also a structure which has a very interesting spawn. I haven't been able to find him, which makes sense, but this structure spawns the illusioner inside it. I think there's actually guaranteed to be an illusioner in here, but I killed the last one, and I guess me respawning him didn't stick. He despawned. But this is a building where you can spawn the illusioner in. For those of you who don't know, the illusioner is this fellow here, and he's basically an alternative kind of invoker who's, I think, exists in Minecraft dungeons, and he was overlooked to be added to the game at some point or some such nonsense. But he actually does exist in Minecraft, like the giant. And he will spawn inside this manor. The really cool part of this manor, to the staircase, we can actually go down into the basement. And this basement's full of all sorts of fun things. It's got more guards in it. It's got all these little extra corridors. It's got these prison cells, which have villagers inside them. This one here has a ravaged in here, which we'll get more onto him later, but so there's a ravaged inside this one. So this is the space where they're doing like weird experiments on villagers and messing with them. That's the dungeon cells. I guess the pillager posts then bring the villagers here to do their things on after they've captured them. In here, we've got the villagers theoreticizing a wither portal, or another portal, but they actually haven't made it yet. More crying obsidian here for you to grab. But it's just a nice little extra bit of lore to the game. Adds a fun dungeon, gives you that crying obsidian, which is now rather valuable, and is an interesting spot to explore. Now we can go to the icy igloo. Now here we have the home of the second place loser. And in this house dwells a cryologer. And the cryologer, he's upset, well, partly because his name is Crying, but also he was overlooked to be added to the game. He got beaten by some other creature. Now he does get angry when he sees you, so he'll summon this ice barrier, and then he'll drop ice on your head. And the glacier wall you have to get through. His ice magic kind of sucks in his own home, though. Sorry, buddy, we're going to have to put you down. And on a hole, he just drops ice. I guess he freezes you as well. It's got some treasure. I just thought it's a fun location to find. Next, we can go to a very unpleasant place, which is a spider cave. If you happen to find one of these caves, I recommend leave and then come back with a sword with Bane of Arthropods on it. Bane of Arthropods is very effective, and there's a lot of spiders to be killed in here. Like a lot. That's one of the nice things about this mod. There's going to be specific enemies to fight every now and then. A lot of spider spawners in this place, so you can collect some spawners if you want to. But there's another thing that has spawning enemies, which is that big old egg there. So now we have to deal with that. Luckily, we've got this Bane of Arthropods. So if we break it, it has a treasure chest under it, but it summons a hostile brood mother. So this is why we want that Bane of Arthropods. It's just to kill her with it, because it's really effective at dealing with her. And she drops nice bound treasure, gives you some poison pigs. You can make your own, basically. Treasure pack. And she drops her own little loot box here. So that is the nice little spider dungeon. Actually very easy to deal with if you have Bane of Arthropods 5. And next on to the Blighted Shack, which is a building based off a different mod. It talks about it in the wiki what it's based off of. The Blighted Shack is a location that holds a horrible witch inside it. So the witch or the hag is summoned by tapping her magic orb, and then she'll appear in a cloud of laughter. Now, sometimes she seems really easy to beat with the fighting focus. Other times she seems really hard to beat. So I just summoned hordes of undead and kept eating healing potions to fight her. You can basically out-tank her though with the gear you have, so you should be able to. And I've no tricks or tips on it because this fight didn't go the way I was hoping it went, to be perfectly honest. It usually goes a lot easier than this. Yeah, so hunting focus, armor, reflection, and summoning undead. And she is thoroughly dealt with, and we can claim her hat now. Put that on her head, and she is dealt with. Now that she's dealt with, we can also resummon her with the respawn anchor. If we are wearing the crone's hat and the witch's robes, we can use the respawn anchor and summon her again. And if we're not immediately hostile to her, she will not be hostile to us. If we're wearing these items. Then we can take emeralds, and we give them to her, and she'll give us stuff in return, such as slime balls, which are a rather rare resource, so it's very nice to get. She can also give us echo shards and all sorts of rare things. So you can also do this just with normal witch clothes. You don't need to be wearing the crone's hat. And you can do these trades with normal witches and warlocks as well. if you're wearing this one. It's a fun extra thing that basically if you disguise yourself as a witch, you can get away with witchcraft. And also, if you happen to make a book with 2 mushrooms, you can do some witchcraft brewing yourself. So the first thing you want to do when it comes to witchcraft and brewing is you want to take cursed metal ingots and make a witch's cauldron. Then you want to take some shadestone and some sticks and also make the cauldron ladle. Have a heat source under the witch's cauldron, and you want to set up some soul cages nearby with soul candles on top to power the cauldron. Water nearby as well can help out. Every single time you want to start a brew, no matter what, you have to start with nether wart. So chuck in some nether wart, and it'll get all purple and sparkly, and then you can proceed. There are various different things you can add to them, but there are limits to how much you can add to your potion. So to make it so the limits are higher of what you can add to your potions, these are called the capacities. You can add the various different capacities to it as seen here. So we could throw in some fungal crisbin, some snapwort, an awakened emerald, and a concentrated emerald. And now the cauldron has way more capacity. Then we can make various different potions as listed under the catalysts. So there are a lot of catalysts. Some are really fun, some are just normal potions. All these have different effects. It doesn't always explain them. Also, one really fun thing about this book is you're not reading your own journal, you're reading a book written by Miss Granny or Miss Toe Fungus. And so it has its own character to it, and it's very witchy, very tongue-in-cheek, very kind of rude, but it's good enough. So the first potion we're going to make is a simple one, which is if we add a magma cream, that will make it basically a fire resistance potion. And then to complete the potion, we can right-click it with the label, and it will suck in the souls to have the potion complete. Then we just need to bottle it up, and we'll get witch brews of fire resistance. And what's really nice about these is they make a lot, and they stack. We want to make a different potion. Again, put that in there, throw some capacity in, and we can make all sorts of things. We could make a potion of the sunflower variety, photosynthesis, that's cool. And then we could add some augments to it, such as redstone to increase the amount of time, or we could add glowstone dust to amplify the effect. We could add area effect with charcoal firework. We can make it linger. We could increase the drinking speed. We can make it throw better. We could add gunpowder, make it splash, or dragon breath, wind core to make it gaseous. We could have Eye of Ender, all sorts of fun things. For us, we are just simply going to add the extra duration to it, which will start with redstone, then prismarine, and then finally coarse fruit. And then we just have to ladle it. It'll complete the potion, use some of the soul cost, and we can bottle up 12 minutes of photosynthesis, which I think feeds us? Way to enhance these is if you add a witch's pole to the outside. This makes it so your potion's a little more powerful. Also, adding a cat can make it so it's more powerful. Either way, you can only have up to 3 poles around, but they do make the potions better. Something else interesting we can do is we can also make a new item, which is this tag lock. Tag lock kit's kind of classic to witchcraft and witchery, and you can get them by poking someone in the butt or by poking their bed. You have to sneak to do it. You can have a tag lock of someone. And then what you can do is once the potion's completed, I think this one's good enough to go. You can tag lock the jar, and you'll hit them with the infect instead. So I just made a potion that stripped my own pants off. You can also do this concept with waystones targeting a location instead of a person, and cast a spell at a range to a spot. You'd have to figure out the applications for that yourself, but that's basics of brewing, and the rest of it's all contained within the Witch's Brew book, which they're really cool, and you can kind of overlook them, which I would recommend against, because there's some really cool stuff in here. And then a new structure that was added while I was actually working on this video is this blacksmithy, this creepy, evil blacksmithy. And this is full of these crushers, and there's a few of these wind wizards in it. And the main thing of interest to find within it is Thor's hammer, which can be found in a chest up here, which is the Stormlander, and it chain lightnings things that hits. Of course, everything here is resistant to lightning damage, so it's not very useful against them. Another interesting spot to go to is the Black Assembly, which is this wonderful little ritual site here, where there's these guys around this dark obsidian pillar in the middle of nowhere, and they're doing some sort of ritual which is spreading the nether about. So we're going to start their vile ritual with a little bit of necromancy, and if we kill them, we can get some of their magic books, which lets us launch things into the air and light them on fire, which is the infernal tome here, and basically lets you do their fun spell of conjuring a fireball. And finally, if we go to the woodland map and make our way inside, we will find them growing pumpkins, and we'll find this room that happens to deal with the animation magic. In a sneakily hidden chest, we will find the ravaging scroll, which lets us get our own ravager as a pet after we learn it. Also, you might have noticed in your black book, after I believe you happen to fight off one of those hordes or you find a normal totem of undying, under crafts, the dark scroll. So if you make the dark scroll with a totem of undying, magic fire, and the black dye, you get this dark scroll which must be used in Woodland Manor. Now, I would recommend not using it in Woodland Manor until you've set up a room isolated from everyone else, a bit like this. So here, we've got some trapdoors with a boat. We've got more trapdoors, and you notice that these are on the level here, so they're not actually a ground-facing level. And you got a nice little lid here, so you can crawl your way in, and then you can close the door, so you can close yourself in here. And what you're going to do is you're going to fight a brand new boss. So we should have some apples for this fight, and I think that as nice as it is to have the focus belt, we should actually wear the spiteful belt and have all of our armor with all those thorns on it, and eat this nice juicy apple. And we could have a better sword than this. Sword of sharpness 5. Still want to keep all that smite sword, but sword of sharpness 5's not that bad. We'll take this wonderful dark scroll, and we're going to go underneath the boat here. This very important step is go underneath this boat. Have it about this high above your head. So what's that? 1, 2, 3 blocks. Then the trapdoors on the 4th block with the boat on top of that. And then surround it completely. Then use the scroll. And now we'll summon the vizier and play some really funky music. And you can put a bunch of boats on top there as well if you want to. But it basically puts the vizier into this boat. He can't escape because he flies around and goes through blocks. So now we have him caught. He's at our mercy. And we can just slap him. Also, he likes to summon bitey mouths to get you. But those bitey mouths can't get you when you're on these trapdoors. So he's completely at our mercy here. And why we have all the thorns is those little flying dudes, quite annoying, but thorns will basically hurt them and deal with them each time they hit us. And anything he do is basically mitigated by our setup. He has some behaviors, like if he has too much damage, he'll get back 50% of his health by killing his minions. And he will summon royal spikes. And you can experience all this if you want to fight him legitimately and not with this setup. But with this setup, he's quite a pushover. Although I really do recommend the thorns because it's very good for fighting vexes. Anyways, with him defeated, you defeated a boss. Congratulations. A bunch of his minions are also trapped in boats above us. And you can get not only his music disc, but you can also get his cool Ruby of Souls, which is the main thing we want out of him. And that concludes our adventures for now, with a very anticlimactic climax. Now that we're back from adventure, let's use this Ruby of Souls we found. So the first thing we have to make is the Vexing Focus. This is pretty complex, requiring a sculk sensor, block of amethyst, notebook, glowy stone dust, feather, anvil, ender pearl, and blaze rod with the animation core in a ritual to make the Vexing Focus. Once you have the Vexing Focus, you can then get a bunch of occult fabric, that Ruby of Souls, and the Vexing Focus all put together to make the Grand Turban. Now, You can have a grand turban, which is the best thing ever to have. And what it actually does is has a chance of spawning allied irks when you take damage, and halves casting time for all spells, which is actually fairly decent. Then you can combine dark fabric with magic fabric to make the dark robe. That's the Illager robe. I am the invoker now. And this reduces the soak costs of all spells by 15. That combined with the armor starts stacking up pretty nicely. But we can make it better by defeating yet another visor to get a second Ruby of Souls, then combine that with magic fiber and occult fiber to get the Grand Robe, so the Grand Vizier, which has incoming attacks while casting with a Wander Staff, and reduce the cost of all spells by 15%. So it doesn't give you magic resistance, but it just reduces all damage if you're casting spells, and then the turban as well makes you cast faster. I think the good combo is probably Witch's Robe with turban. I think that's a nice combo to have for the magic resistance and the halving all cast time, because that's really strong. Right, next let's look at some haunted glass. That is glass that is made with ectoplasm and glass, and that just turns into haunted glass, and haunted glass can be passed through by players, but monsters can't go through it. The other thing you can do with it is you can make the Haunted Mirror. That is a ritual requiring the glass in the center, gold surrounding it, a phantom membrane, and an ender pearl, and you require to have 2 of them, and basically if you have them lined up to a certain distance, which I believe is 48 blocks, it just teleports you. And that's pretty cool. Next we got a little tool, which is the Windblower. That requires wind core, jade, marble, redstone, and fences. And this is a cool object that blows wind, which can push things. And the power of its blowing is based on the redstone signal power. So this one has power 14, this one has 13, 12, and so on and so on. If we go over here, we turn it on, that'll be power 15. If we turn this on, that'll only be power 14. Now, I have some effects from taking damage. And so, as we go along in series, we should slowly lower ourselves until about here, and then this will only hover us a little. Didn't hover us enough to slow down power. You can also use these to push things, so they have other uses beyond that, but they're just a useful way of moving things around. If you take a animation core and you right click a block of redstone, you can make a redstone cube, which is like a mini little babby golem, which is now your pet. This is like the most basic of golems you can make, just requiring a redstone cube, and they will defend you. You can make a little bit of a more complicated golem setup if you want to by combining a curse cage with a awakened soul gem, Eye of Ender, ectoplasm, animating core, ender pearl, essence of shadow, crime obsidian, and a redstone block to make the animator. The animator requires a redstone signal to activate, and it requires waystones bound to the location. And so many rituals usually require an animation core to be thrown into them to start them, like with the redstone block, the golem. However, with this here, we can instead tap it with the waystone. We can put the waystone into the animator. We can turn it on, and that will turn the cube with a little bit of cost into the cube without having to then burn up the animator core. Instead, we can just burn waystones. We can also take the waystones out now that's summoned, and we can set them to a new location. So, one of the things we happen to learn is under summoning, we can make a grave golem. The grave golem is really cool, but requires quite a bit of setup. Luckily, we can visualize the setup, and you can place them down. I'll tell you which blocks are missing. It's a rather expensive process to get one of these. But once you have the location, you can either put the animation core in, or we can waystone it, the central little block there of that bone. And then we can get the grave golem. And he is really cool. Just look at him. Big old chonky boy. Something I really like about the Great Golem as well is you can stand on his back, which is kind of fun. You can't ride him, but you can stand on him. He's very powerful. He's undead. He stores items for you, so he's like the center of your undead army. Whole bunch of stuff you can read up on him. Very, very cool. If he dies, you can reanimate him. He'll drop his head, and then you can just base it back onto a much simpler core than his initial summon. He's a really powerful fighter. Can take on a lot of the basic things and some of the not so basic things. He will summon little ghosts to fight for you. He has a power slam, and I believe his fists also fire like ghostly missiles out. Yeah, there we go. So he is really cool, and if undead drop items near him, he will pick them up, and then you can take the items from him to put into a new undead. Different animation golem. This is snow golem. You just snow on the head, packed ice for the arms and legs, blue core in the center, and that'll make an ice golem. Hello, Mr. Ice Golem. Next golem, not so simple. So you summon him with the animation core, but then he doesn't work. He just sits there, he doesn't do anything. This is a squalid golem. So, how to get the squalid golem to work after you've made his structure, all the golem structures can be found in their respective entries, is you have to make one of these resonance crystals. These crystals are made with prismarine jar on top, jade in the center, wind core, and quartz. It is a ritual. And you then punch the golem, or left click him with the resonance crystal. That will bind him to the crystal. Then, using a wind blower, you blow that wind at the resonance crystal, and then that crystal will resonate with the golem and bind to him, and he'll start walking around and be able to act. Resonance crystals can also like bind to each other. Do this, we bind it, then we bind it to one that's resonating, and then the others can resonate too. We get a resonating sequence. And now, it doesn't say this anywhere in the book under the resonating crystal, but they send a redstone signal. So it's basically a way to have a wireless redstone signal transmission. Next is a little bit more complicated, but something to note is all these scrolls, all the things we're making right now are from the collected scrolls we got. So next we're making the redstone golem. To make the redstone golem though, we need to take diamond blocks and stone blocks to create the diamond mold. We will get 4 diamond molds per craft of this, still ridiculously expensive. So next you want to go into the redstone golem and look up the instructions to make him, and you have to surround it with lava. The visualization doesn't give that to you, but it's a lot of redstone, a lot of stuff. You put that down, and then every single one of these blocks has to have a lava source block next to it. So in the corners, like these blocks here, don't impact it, but it's all the other blocks adjacent to it. And it'll tell you when it's complete, so just keep bucketing lava nearby. Real pain to make, actually. But once you get it done, or you summon in the nether, which would make it a little bit easier to place, you have to put the core down, like all other golems, oink, into the center block. And that will make the redstone golem, which is the most powerful of the golems. It'll drain some of the lava and making him, he's very glowy. And, ooh, doesn't he look pretty? You can also stand on his back. And he probably has some interesting powers too. Well, he's the second most powerful golem. Let's make the most powerful golem. That, however, will require us to go on a little field trip. We're going to have to go to the end now. And here, we have to go hunting through the different chests. I think it's either in the boat or the city. Alright, it's probably in this chest. Yes, the shrouded blueprint for the ultimate golem creation. And we will take it and we will combine it with the redstone golem head, as well as a piece of paper and ectoplasm. That means we actually have to have the redstone golem get himself killed, because if he dies, he drops his head, like the crypt golem, and then that will give us his head, and that's one of the important ingredients. So we basically have to send him into impossible battles to die. And there's our redstone golem will die, and he'll leave behind his head for us to collect. So it's kind of actually hard to get that head, but once you have it, you can combine it in a ritual with the shrouded blueprint in the center, a piece of glowstone, a piece of paper, and some ectoplasm, ignore the glowstone, and that will give you the Terminus Scroll. Read the Terminus Scroll, and it'll let you learn how to summon the redstone monstrosity. The monstrosity also requires this reinforced redstone block to be created, which requires a ritual with cursed metal blocks, lots of obsidian, and redstone in the center. Then you make a much bigger version of the redstone golem, all submerged in lava, which can be found under the redstone monstrosity summon, and he also just requires a simple animation core to be made. And this will summon this big boy with 600 health, which you can ride and direct him to walk around. and he is ridiculously powerful. He has a lot of health, you can stand on him, and he's an absolute beast. Has a nice AoE, and he summons redstone cubes. So he is a minion that summons cubes, and he also ground pounds and throws out explosive projectiles. Like, once you've got one of these, you are the coolest kid on the block. Let's just put it that way. Alright, next then. You can make things called wartful eggs, and that's surrounding nether wart around a spider eye. Now make a wartful egg, and that will summon a wartling. And these are basically little tanks for you. If you go read up on the wartlings, it spawns a wartling, which takes a bit of your life force, but then the wartling will basically take a hit for you and get rid of effects on you. They're pretty decent to have around. Basically, if you have a negative effect, summon a wartling and it'll take the effect for you. If you combine that spider nest, some red wool, wartling eggs, and nether wart all together, you can make the warlock sash, which automatically uses wartful eggs when afflicted by negative effects, so it'll use them for you if they're in your inventory to clear those effects from you if you get affected by them. And then you can combine that sash with a bunch of mushrooms and some occult fabric to make the warlock robes, which then gives you resistance to magic equal to the witch's robes. Instead of having an eternal brewing stand, it makes it so you have a chance of not using up wrathful eggs if you happen to use them. And also, arthropods are neutral to you. So you could wear that sash as well if you wanted to, and then automatically have your egg spawn if you want to do that. And that can be pretty useful because there can be some pretty nasty negative effects in this mod, especially if a witch is trying to get you. It might be a good idea to have that sash on your belt and a whole bunch of spiders, because they can then just tank all the effects for you, and you don't have to deal with them yourself. So, next we can make a sculk converter. And the sculk converter is made with a curse cage, sculk callus, and a soul absorber, and it's just crafted. What's interesting is you can actually enchant this thing to be more potent and more efficient. It does require a redstone signal to activate, and basically what happens is when you activate it, if there is soul energy on top of it with a curse cage, it will turn nearby ground into sculk, so it will spread the sculk. Now, if you make the sculk relay nearby, which is made with the sculk sensor, sculk callus, and sculk streaker, it will relay this redstone signal to the location of the relay. So it will sculk near that thing. If you combine the sculk callus with shadestone and a awakened emerald in the center, you can get the sculk devourer. And sculk devourer takes XP from dead enemies or creatures, like this pig, and it will then convert that into soul energy for you. And so killing creatures near one of these will charge up your soul energy. If we go and look at the codex crafting entry, and we go to the sculk devourer, which is what we just created, it will convert it straight into soul energy. So any experience that is dropped by creatures dying will be converted straight into soul energy. Creatures have to be killed. It's a fascinating experiment. The amount of soul energy depends on the experience drop and can be enchanted with Soul Eater and Radius, multiplies the area effect, and it will give it to its owner, and that's why it says Sculk Devourer Owner Lorethorn, whereas if we just put down a piece of rock, it's just a piece of rock, it doesn't have me as its owner. So if you have some way to XP farm, I don't think that works. I think it has to be creatures that are killed XP farming. And then finally we have the Sculk Grower. That requires a ritual. Blocks of Sculk, some composters, bones, and a Sculk Converter will make the Sculk Grower. Needs a cursed soul cage above it to power, and how it works is, well, it's on getting a redstone signal, it will grow plants next to it every tick or few. Next, an absolutely fascinating ritual. This one will require a villager to be captured, so don't forget to capture your villagers. Also, it will need the hunger core for the center of the ritual, 1 jade, 2 rotting flesh, a tooth, in fact it'll require 2 teeth, a lapis lazuli, a phantom membrane, and a venomous fang. Then we can perform a ritual most foul with this. So we put that there, one of those 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 there. Villager down with a cursed core, and the villager will start shivering. And then he will turn into a ravaged. This is our ravage this time. And this ravage will turn into a ravager once he is fed enough food. His favorite is villagers, so we'll have him start eating them. He does require quite a few villagers to be eaten to get to his full size, so best to have a good villager farm for your ravager. Pretty certain you can also feed him pillagers, but they're not as filling as the villagers, and they're slightly violent. Oh, there we go. He's eaten his fill. There we go, we've got a naked ravager. Let's get you somewhere where we can do the tutorial now. So, our ravager buddy now requires us to do a little bit of forging ritual with a block of cursed metal, 4 chains, a saddle, and a block of lapis lazuli to make an ominous saddle. When we place that on him, we can now ride him. Look at that. If we want to, we can also just craft him some armor. Have to shift right click onto him. And boom! He's all pretty and dressed up and ready to go. So, next, we are going to summon our very own Lich. To do this, it's actually a rather interesting process. We need a skeletal servant, and then we need to take the necromancer staff, the necromancer's cape, the necro crown, ectoplasm, and rotting flesh. Then, with the staff, hat, plasm, and rotting focus around the sides, and a skeleton in the ritual ring, and then the armor in the center, the necro cape, and boom! You've got a pet necromancer. But these necromancers are really precious servants, and they are very much based off liches. They're very lich-like, and you can do lichy things with them. So, you can make, after you summon one of them, out of shade stone, a empty soul jar. And it's just made like this. And what the soul jar does is if one of these guys happens to die horribly, their dead spirit will get sucked into the soul jar. And then, with this soul jar, if you happen to have another skeleton servant, you can feed him the soul jar and turn him into a new necromancer. You can also feed an existing necromancer that soul jar to turn him into a bigger and more powerful necromancer, up to 125. And so you can make a very powerful necromancer who is huge. We also want to do that for ourselves, is have that sort of life-preserve necromancer lich thing. So let's become a lich. To become a lich, you need to gather a lot of these forbidden pieces and these forbidden fragments. You can actually craft these forbidden pieces with their skeleton skulls, echo shard, ectoplasm, soul sand, and paper, and that'll craft you 1 forbidden piece. 9 of them will turn into 1 forbidden fragment. 9 forbidden fragments will turn into 1 forbidden scroll. Right click with the forbidden scroll and it will grant you Grandma's secret recipe, which will unlock the chapter on how to become a lich and all the lich stuff. Now, how you become a lich is you need to make the Ascension of Undeath potion. It requires a villager sacrifice, and it also requires, well, a whole lot of stuff, including unholy blood. Unfortunately, unholy blood is unholy pain to get. You need to summon the final boss of the mod pack, which is the apostate. So, let's go kill this putrid poser. The apostate is summoned by the Sabbath ritual. You can do the Sabbath ritual in the overworld or the underworld. It will summon the apostle. He is far more powerful in the nether, but he gives you better stuff here. And I actually find him easier to beat here. We happen to have this armor. More importantly, we have the warlock robes. We could have the wart sash with a bunch of warts, or we could have the spiteful belt. We've got all this enchanted stuff, and we really want a sword with smite. We could put it on the hungry dagger as well. I find just a sword with smite works just as well. It's up to you which weapon you want to put it on, but have a sword with smite 5. Very important for this next bit. Then what you want to do is you want to find a location in the nether, and you just want to keep digging until you get in an area where there's not going to be these lava pools. You're going to want a netherite ingot as well. And yes, you can get nice and deep into the map. And then, when you're at the right point, you want to basically block up the path behind you. And you want to keep blocking up. So you want to dig down, and you want to block it up above your head. And you want to dig down all the way to bedrock. You don't have to do this for the final boss, but this makes it way, 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 way easier. You also summon unlimited hordes of monsters if you want to, but I like this method. So, from here, you want to set up the ritual of the Sabbath, which requires 8 crown obsidian, 16 obsidian, and 4 soul flames. What's fun about this is it can be contained in a very small space. So we'll set up the soul flames. There's our 8 crown obsidian. We're going to get ourselves about 16 golden apples. Pretty easy to make. I think it's fair enough to say at a certain point in the game you'll have 16 golden apples. Okay, we'll have 17. You want the obsidian all set up so we can have it embedded in the walls. We have the proper ritual site. We're down at bedrock. And then you want to set up trapdoors like this. With your trapdoors, you can open up all of them if you want to. I would say to start with close them. And then you just go and put some hats down. We've got our soul cage under there with a lot of soul power as well. That's important to have so we can actually do the ritual. 3, one more hat. There we go. Required hats. Game mode. Survival. Eat our apple. Get fully saturated. There, that's the extra one used up. Netherite ingot. Warning, about to face a foe within their domain. Are you prepared? I think so. And this will summon the apostle. Now then, you want to close all the trapdoors. If you can. That'll force him into the center. You want to stand up and get into the same block as him. You can basically use some mechanics or be underneath him. Either way works. And try to occupy the same space as him. And this way, he can't actually hit you with his arrows. Now, Smite stops him from regenerating. You know what, on second thoughts, be underneath the trapdoors. His fire damage can't activate down here with the way we have the trapdoor set up, and that deals a lot of damage. Alright, so now he has a stage 2 activated, which recharges him and makes him more powerful. Now we can see again, and we just keep hitting him. We have broken his AI, we're under this trapdoor. You can go under the trapdoor to break his AI. He will summon magic. He has a bunch of different spells he'll cast. But we can avoid most of that nonsense with the setup we have. We stop his regen. We're resistant to his damage. We can regenerate ourselves. The smite stops him from regenning. He will summon various things, but honestly, you can just ignore them. You have him trapped here. He can't go anywhere. So one of the big behaviors of the apostate is he teleports around, and he's an archer. But we are both avoiding his archery, and we are avoiding lots of his spells. He can't summon them if we're underneath him. He can't shoot if we're next to him. This one, different ones have different powers. This one's fire damage deals more damage. So that's why I'm hiding underneath him instead. And the whole idea is just basically to subvert the boss's powers. So he can't teleport, he can't shoot us, he can't regenerate, he can't summon allies. We've basically won. And he was beaten by the mighty and noble trapdoor. And on top of that, he gave us a lot of ancient debris and netherite and all sorts of fun goodies. He gave us the night beacon. We definitely want that. And he gave us pure unholy blood, which is better than the normal unholy blood. For our purposes, we actually only need normal unholy blood. I find it easier to fight him in the nether because there's no caves in the nethers when you get really low down. In the overworld, if you dig down, he'll teleport into adjacent caves, and the fight becomes really, really annoying. But this way, it's super easy, barely inconvenience. So the Lich's ritual requires quite a few resources. We're going to need a few more extra pedestals here, because we don't have enough. Right then. Ectoplasm, echo shard, glowstone, wart, bottle of honey, and spider eye. Some suspicious brew, a withered rose, and crystal, enchanted apple, pure unholy blood, totem of the undying, one villager, and an empty bottle. So you want to have your Arca linked to your central ritual, and you want to be absolutely full of all the power you can be filled with. I think at the least you need 60,000. I'd go with 70,000 because you never know what can happen. And if you mess up and don't have enough power, it will still consume the items and the ritual will just flub. So the ritual is started. We just need to kill the sacrifice. And it shall begin now. And it is draining ridiculously large amounts of power. About 1,000 per tick, which is a lot. Villagers and pigs are a great way to farm this power. There we go. only going to be 6,000 power. Now, we have the potion of transformation. We do not want to drink this right away, though, because we want to now sequester our Arca somewhere secret and hidden and safe, away from prying eyes, unless they have those stupid compasses. And then, all we have to do is have our Arca here. It's ready. Our soul's bound to it. We now drink the potion. And you are now a Lich. And one of the cool things about being a Lich is you don't got no legs. Then you can be a genie. Undead necro genie. So being a Lich is very cool because it, well, it makes you unkillable, for one. Caveats of being a Lich. You have finally become the ultimate undead. As you guess, you have strength and weakness. For starters, hunger no longer affects you. When injured, you'll use soul energy from your totem to heal, unless you're on fire. Second, you cannot get poisoned, regenerate, hunger, or saturation effects. You will burn in sunlight unless you have headgear. And smite hurts you more than normal. Also, villagers hate you unless you cure a lot of them from being zombies. On the plus side, most undead creatures no longer attack you, and you're resilient to magic. You can never drown, you can stay in sunlight as long as you're wearing a helmet, or have fire resistance. Being undead also means potions of harming heal you, and potions of healing harm you, same way as other undead work. The Arcana resurrects you, no matter how much soul energy you have. However, should the number of soul energy be less than the number needed to revive, you will be inflicted with soul hunger, which makes you weaker until you can basically eat souls again. We do have to talk about that. At the time of recording, when I was testing this ability out, it didn't work. So I could turn into a Lich, and I would be a Lich, my Arca would have no power in it, and if I happened to die, then I wouldn't actually respawn again. I would respawn normally and no longer be a Lich. So certain times it seems to be bugged out. In the earlier version, before the update, when I was messing around with this, it did seem to work, but now it is bugged and no longer works. You can also retain your normal form by pressing the Lich key, which will make you look normal. If you want to stop being a Lich, break your Arcana and die, and then you will stop being a Lich. That's the way to do that. Oh my goodness, we look truly awful, or amazing. Yes, once you become an undead ghouly goo, a Lich, you unlock a whole bunch of wonderful little things. Besides caveats being Lich, you can go and look at all the craft, and you have a new staff you can craft, which is the Nameless Staff. You've got some new gear to craft, which is the Nameless Set, are all fancy and multicolored and upgraded versions of the necro items. The Nameless Crown is basically the same thing as the Grand Turban, however it gives you a slightly different effect of halves cost times spells, and undead servants will persist, which is kind of handy. And then the Nameless Cape also amplifies your undead summons, but no longer gives you the hunger. I do personally find the Lich model to look a little silly. I think it's the pinpoints in the eyes. If it is one solid color, it might work better. I don't know. Something about it just doesn't work for me. At this point anyways, you should know the drill on the crafting of these items, so make yourself the Nameless set, and we'll play around with that. And look at that, we got a cool robe now. It insinuates our green pants, and it's a little bit of a Joker colors. Color scheme as well is not my favorite. Purple and green. It can work, but sometimes it doesn't. It's not even purple, or it's like a really dark grayish purple. And ooh, it gives you a fancy crown, and it makes your face look like a frog. I'm afraid to say. It's a frog face. It like gives you frog eyeballs, gives you a frog face, which is a real big shame. Let's transform back. Well, what key is it? Is it... I can turn on night vision with N? Okay. N. There we go. Like, this looks good. I like this. Like, that works. I think it's better, actually, with the one eye getting covered in the hair. Yeah, that's cool. This? Eh. No. Lich Magnet. And Lich Laugh. Oh, cool. If you can magnetize things with the Lich Magnet, Well, that's good. That is the best thing this mod has. Is the Lich laugh key. That is incredible. Now we are going to make a magic orb thing, I guess, and that is going to be concentrated emerald, a bed, item frame, a slime ball, phantom membrane, daylight detector, ectoplasm. Ectoplasm will give us the heart of night, and the heart of night can be combined with necrostaff and ectoplasm and the forbidden pieces to create this staff. Soul bolts shot from the staff turn into more powerful necrobows. Casting the mirror spell will also, wearing the nameless set, will cause them to shoot a single necrobow at your target instead. 12 damage. That's not bad. Another item we can forge, which isn't related to lichdom, but is related to the unholy blood, is if we combine it with a bunch of crown obsidian, dragon's breath, and gunpowder with Eye of Ender, we can make the Philosopher's Stone. Philosopher's Stone's a really cool item. You can do an infinite gold hack with it. If you happen to have gold in it, you can get more gold. It's like infinite money besides the duration of the stone. But the stone self-repairs using your soul energy, or you can use other methods to repair it from other mods, or even this mod. If you take the Eerie Pickaxe, which is an item we didn't make, the Grave Robber's Shovel, a Dark Pickaxe, and a Dark Shovel with 2 nether ingots, and the Philosopher's Stone in the center as a ritual, you can make the Philosopher's Mace, and this actually has a really nice looking model, especially when you have it in hand. This is basically a super good tool. It digs dirt, it digs stone, it's fast at it, also hits 9 damage, and deals gold touch, which makes enemies burst into gold. Also, with this unholiest of unholy blood, you can combine it with dragon's breath, soul sand, bones, teeth, ectoplasm, and lapis to create the death scythe. On this, when clicked, will fire a harvesting projectile, so you can do farming out of range. The projectile also just hits really hard, sometimes can double hit the target, and you can also just hit the target with the scythe, then the projectile, making it really, really efficient at killing things, especially if you have the gloves equipped as well. I also like its look. The blue blade is nice. It's nice. And finally, this requires the pure unholy blood. If you combine the pure unholy blood with the forbidden fragments and dark fabric, you can craft unholy fabric. It will give you 4 unholy fabric for the expert netherite ritual. Very expensive to make, but if you happen to make 8 of it, you can make the unholy set. So the unholy set requires the netherite ropes, Disco Inferno. The first one requires 5, the second one requires 3, and that would be the nether crown as well to make. And you can get the unholy robe and unholy hat, which are basically the same things that old what's-his-face hat. Gives fire resistance that allows nether servants to heal using soul energy, halves the cost of nether spells. Wearing the unholy hat causes certain fire spells to deal hellfire damage instead, which ignores fire resistance. The hat gives fire resistance and halves incoming damage when the nether servants will persist, and causes halves the cast time of nether spells. Wearing the unholy robe, certain fire spells deal that. And so, if we switch them out, there's 2 body slots. We can wear both. Interesting. We have the cape, I guess, as a backpack. Yeah, so if we wear both, then we can be a very interesting looking fellow indeed. Oh, and finally we have the Midnight Beacon. We're going to go / game rules. Do daylight cycle true. We got this by killing him in hell. This is the Midnight Beacon. So the Midnight Beacon is an ancient device told within villager legends. They say placing it upon a nether portal where it caused the overworld to become perpetual night. But the legends spoke of its destruction. Perhaps obtaining it with the right things and such not could bring eternal night upon the world, thus making vampires and liches very happy. Alright, nighttime forever go. Right then, so that was the video. I hope you all enjoyed it greatly. I enjoyed making it. It's a really cool mod. I think it's one of my favorite mods to come out recently. What we're going to do as well is we're going to release a video. We're going to look at every single focus, and we might look at all the summons. I don't know about that. I'm going to have a focus video on just how to become a lich, so you can probably skip that one. And yeah, going to do some other fun stuff with this. Well, I hope you found this video useful. I think the biggest utility for me was figuring out how to cheese all the bosses, so I definitely hope you found that easy. If you can't be bothered to cheese the bosses, just build a bunch of like simple grave golems and the redstone golem, maybe the monstrosity, and summon a huge amount of entities, and then you can basically deal with all the problems. I mean, if you got this guy on your side, you kind of won the game. That being said, the apostate in hell actually does beat him in a fair fight. You need more than just him to beat the apostate in hell. I don't know about the overworld, but in hell, the apostate wins. Hands down. Yeah, it's very cool. I love all the things. Love the different summons, the giant spiders, the wolves. It's chock full of references. The wiki, if you go to that, which I'll have linked, has a whole bunch of the references and other links and other designs they took and things they borrowed. So that's all really cool. And I want to say a big thank you for everyone's patience. This video took a long time to make. Many hours spent recording, so it caused a little gap in videos coming out on the channel. So hopefully the next videos, well, after I stop milking it, will come faster and be interesting. Yeah, so tell me what you thought about it in the comments, if you found it useful. If not, all's good. And I will catch you all next time. So thank you to my patron Blushfeather. And you should be getting a reward now, if I can figure it out, to have this world, the state that's in, uploaded to the Patreon. So if you're a Patreon at the most basic level, you can download the tutorial world for Goety, if you so wish. And yes, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye. I feel like I have won Minecraft riding this guy. I'm just going to say that now. Like, you've won Minecraft. Hear me, world, and be in fear. Eternal night has come. I'm a lich with boobs!